This is VSiN, the sports betting network. This is the VSiN Morning Line on VSiN, the sports betting network.
It is a beautiful morning here at the VSiN Morning Line. The sun's shining a little bit brighter, the air's got a little crisp to it, and we all got a little pep in our step because the day has finally arrived. NFL 2024 kickoff is here. We got a real football game tonight, guys. Welcome into the VSiN Morning Line. I'm Grace Remington with Michael Lombardi and Harrison Sanford. Guys, there is no feeling like game day. So I would love to hear your game day stories. Michael, what is one of your favorite things about either the opening weekend of the NFL season or just game day in general?
Well, game days are special, and the start of the season's even more special. This will be 40 years that I've been involved with the National Football League, and I can go back to my first game in the Silverdome. That's right, the Silverdome at Pontiac, Michigan, where the San Francisco 49ers in the 1984 season opened up against the Detroit Lions. And, I was in the press box, and I can still remember Mr. DeBartolo's bodyguard asked me to go get 2 packs of cigarettes for him and gave me a $100 bill. And I went and found a cigarette machine, put the money in, got the $98 change or whatever the hell it was. And the guy said to me, just keep the money. Don't worry about it. And I wasn't making any money. So that was like a double win. And then we won on the last second field goal. So, it's been a great journey for 40 years. It's been fun. And you think about the past, but you also think about the future, about what we have to look forward to and the routine that we get into, right? I mean, this is what it's all about. Thursday night, we get to watch a game. We get games, college games, Friday, Saturday, and then Sunday, Monday. So there's nothing like the fall and the smell of grass and knowing that we're going to get football every week on our TV is tremendous. Harrison, how about you?
Yeah, I remember my first NFL game, and guys, I actually did not go to an NFL game in person until I was a beat reporter in Ohio. I was covering the Cincinnati Bengals, but I was based out of Columbus, Ohio. So, Michael, obviously you're familiar with Ohio too. That's a 2-hour drive on a Sunday morning to get to game day. So I remember I got there 9 a.m. I'm talking to some of the players on the team. The game I'm so excited to be in an actual NFL stadium. Again, my whole life, I was just watching games from my couch or from with friends. But I'm actually covering a game. I'm talking to players before the game and after the game. I'm interviewing them in the locker room. I do my stand-up on the field after the Marvin Lewis press conference. This is when the Bengals were a good team but couldn't win a playoff game type of team. That was the team I was covering. And then I do my stand-up on the field. I drive 2 hours back to Columbus from Cincinnati. It's 8 p.m. And I'm saying to myself, Harrison, as much as you love covering football, isn't it nice to be one day have the opportunity to get back to be able to watch football, all the games on Sunday? So that's the type of life that I'm living now. I'm happy I'm in the sports betting space. Now my job is to watch all of the games, not just one singular team. And I'm sure you could relate, Grace, because you were also a beat reporter. It's great. I love knowing the stories and getting to know the players, and all that is fun. But, man, those football Sundays as a beat reporter, that's like a 10-hour shift, no lie.
Oh, yeah. It's a bit tougher than it looks, but the morning before the game starts, specifically the 2 hours when everyone arrives to the field early, that's my favorite part of the day. Because, you're out there grinding practice all week long. Everyone's, wearing sweats. It's hot outside. It's not glamorous at all. But then you show up Sunday, everyone's in their suits, their nice outfits. You get to see your friends from the other team, from the other beat coming into town. For the team you cover, it's people that you don't really get to see during the week. So you're catching up in the press box or on the field. I mean, there is a palpable energy there. There's just always a sense of hope. Even if you're working for a losing team or covering one, I've covered the winners and losers with the Super Bowl winning Bucks and then the Panthers the following years. But it doesn't really matter what the expectations are because there's just this hope at the start of the day and the field looks beautiful. Michael, I love how you said the grass smells good because that's actually something I remember too. I mean, just the way the sun shines on the stadium is beautiful. Everyone's in such a great mood and you get to see your friends. It kind of feels like a party down on the field before game day. So it's a fantastic feeling. I'm glad we're finally back to it, but we're not the only people excited here. Todd Bowles also feeling some type of way.
Yeah.
You're pretty stoic. Don't show a lot of your emotions. What's the season opener like for you when you walk out of that tunnel?
It's exciting! No. It's
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, Todd Bowles, obviously one of the more stoic
Todd
guys.
Bowles, is that you?
I know. Who is imposter?
I know, but he's jacked up. I mean, here's, Todd Bowles is ready to go. I mean, you can imagine how his team must feel. Look, I think everybody is feeling the same way. It's a chance to compete. It's a chance to go out there and see what all this offseason planning has come to fruition. And it's a chance to chase a goal. I mean, you're chasing a ring. You're trying to get one of the most coveted things in all of sports, a Super Bowl ring. And the journey begins Thursday night as Kansas City faces Baltimore. And, Kansas City has won 2 rings in a row, and everybody's looking to do that. And I think there's one thing about NFL season starting. Everybody has hope, right? Art Modell, when I worked for the Cleveland Browns, used to tell me all the time, kid, we don't sell football, we sell hope. And the fans have hope. And every franchise has hope. Even as bad as New England has looked, they have hope. So that's what makes this day so special, is hope. And I think the excitement that Todd Bowles showed, Harrison, is all about the hope he has for his team.
Yeah, no, it definitely was evident in that soundbite there from Todd Bowles. And, there's a team that should have hope. One of the teams that should have hope this year is the Baltimore Ravens. They're coming back second year with their with their offensive coordinator, Todd Monken. They brought in Derrick Henry this year. They had some things that were really successful leading up into the AFC Championship game. And obviously with this marquee matchup tonight against the Chiefs to start the season, there's a reason for optimism for them for sure, because of what they've been building upon and what they can potentially do this season. But obviously for Kansas City, the optimism level should also be high. And I think what's unique about their situation, obviously, is they have a chance to go for 3 straight Super Bowls. It gives a little oomph to their season. So I'm super excited to see what happens tonight. Can't wait to break it down with you guys, Grace.
Yeah, plenty to talk about with this season opening game, but I want to give a quick look ahead as to what's coming up on the show, because we have a jam-packed schedule for you today. 4 guests joining us later on in the show. We have VSiN contributor Raheem Palmer joining us at 8:15 Eastern with his best bets for the weekend. Then ESPN's Booger McFarland at the bottom of our second hour with an NFL and college football preview. One of our newest members of the VSiN team, Adam Shine, joins us at 8:45 Eastern with his favorite NFL win totals. He'll also be breaking down his new show, Make It Rain. That debuts later on today, so mark your calendars for that. And then Mike Palm coming in our final hour, giving us an update on the Circa contest and Palms Pressing 3. But we got a fun first hour for you as we begin this NFL season. We're going to get into news all around the league, not just the Ravens Chiefs. We're also going to open up our prop shop. Where are we buying? Where are we selling? All props for Thursday Night Football. We're also getting into our NFL award nominations. Last time to bet them at their current prices. But let's get more into this Ravens-Chiefs game, guys, because we are right back where we started last season, and that is Arrowhead Stadium. The Chiefs obviously beginning their quest for that unprecedented three-peat of the Lombardi Trophy, while the Ravens obviously have Super Bowl aspirations of their own. But if you're talking to Lamar, this is a rematch of last year's AFC title game. Just make sure you don't call it a revenge game.
I'm approaching like any other game, but it's the start of the season, so we got to make a great impression for the first game of the season.
When you say you're approaching it like any other game, revenge won't be on your mind at all. I'm sure it'll be on the Ravens' flock's mind.
I mean, any game I play, and I feel like it's a revenge game, so I'm not just going to look at this game like a revenge game. Anybody we play, no matter if we beat them or lost to them previous years, I just want to win.
So Lamar 1-4 against the Chiefs. Michael, what do you think about this mindset? It's not a revenge game, apparently.
Well, I think one thing about Lamar, he's always better when he's the dog, right? He's 7-0 ATS as a dog in his career, but when he's the favorite, he's 15-20 against the spread and 7-17 when he's favored by 3 or more points. So, this is the perfect setting for him. Now, there's a lot of questions around his team. It's going to be interesting as Harrison talked about with Todd Monken, what he does with the offense. They have a new right side of their offensive line. They've lost their offensive line coach, which is problematic. And then defensively, Zach Orr, the former linebacker, who's been a coach for 3 seasons, takes over for Mike McDonald. And that's going to be a tough game because Andy Reid is very good at his first 15. He's very good at probing the defense, and he's very good at making you have to make adjustments during the game and communicate those adjustments. Now, losing Geno Stone back in the secondary, that's problematic. But I think more than anything, McDonald's presence not being there will create some confusion because Andy Reid will do a lot of things within the misdirection and how he handles the offense. I think that's the biggest challenge that they have. Can Zach Orr handle the game day adjustments that are going to be required? How Andy Reid approaches the game and how it comes off. Remember, football is about 3 things, right? The first quarter is about, did we practice what they're doing? It's an assessment. The second and the third quarter are the adjustments to the assessment. The fourth quarter becomes a standalone game. And I think that's where Zach Orr, with only 3 years of experience, is going to. And I could see why this line has teetered between 2.5 and 3. I think it'll close before kickoff at 2.5. But when you take the Ravens, you're basically saying Lamar as a dog is my play, Harrison.
Yeah, and Coach Harbaugh is 12-4 in week 1 in terms of against the spread. So that definitely is another argument to support the Ravens covering tonight in the season opener, Grace.
Yeah, and that record gets even better in recent years. 6-1 ATS in week 1 games. All right, plenty more to get to in this game and more. You're watching the VSiN Morning Line. More NFL betting news coming up after this break.
Time. There's nothing more valuable. It's what drives everyone to make the most of every moment. We celebrate living large in the now. In a city where time disappears, we create experiences that electrify the soul and memories that will last forever. We go big, we go all night, and here, everyone is invited. So get loose and get loud.
This is Circa. You'll have the time of your life.
Coming up Thursday on Follow the Money, it's here. The NFL lid lifter with the Chiefs and the Ravens. We preview fantasy and props with Paul Charchian and Brad Powers on the Week 2 college football schedule. Follow the Money weekdays, 4 to 7 Eastern on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Want to see who at VSiN is on a hot streak? Go to VSiN.com/picks to see all the selections and weekly leaderboard of VSiN hosts, writers, and guests. Become a VSiN Pro subscriber and get every pick sent to your inbox daily. Just head to VSiN.com/pro.
So, Paulie, have you had a chance to read the VSiN Daily yet?
Yeah, came in at 3 a.m. What's Bill doing up that late?
Well, rumor has it, it starts off with a 12-hour meditation session.
Then he just pours himself over film and live TV, really focusing and taking it all in. Bill's in with the biggest insiders, talking trade secrets, strategies, the whole nine, absorbing the info.
And then and only then can the writing process begin.
In Las Vegas, Bill's late night becomes your early morning. Wake up to the very latest betting insights in your inbox with the VSiN Daily. Sign up for free at vsin.com/newsletter.
You're watching the VSiN Morning Line right here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Welcome back into the VSiN Morning Line as we begin a new NFL season. Grace Remington with you alongside Michael Lombardi and Harrison Sanford. We're going to take a look at the overnight market movement and some of these week one games. Also take a look at general NFL betting news, things that might impact your handicap. But first, let's get deeper into this Ravens-Chiefs game. And, you know, one important thing, being a viewer of the game, being a fan of the game is having that nice setup, the surround sound, the 96-inch TV. Maybe you're using the 4-box on YouTube TV. Love that on a college football Saturday. But Harrison, you're dealing with an issue tonight, it sounds like.
Yeah, I just have a dilemma, guys, because, you know, football also means fellowship. It also means you have your friends around you, or potentially have your friends around you. It gives a reason to connect to random people on the street who love the sport. And with me, at least, I usually congregate with my friends during football season. You know, let's say some of my male friends who have girlfriends who have been gone all summer. This is my reason to say, hey, we haven't hung out in a while. The game is on, and they're happy to join in. But now you guys were doing this new morning show. I don't know about you, but I'm waking up 5:30 a.m. I don't know if I could have the homies come out and watch the game with me anymore. I'm having quite the dilemma. My home is usually known as the viewing home, but at the same time, it's an early wake-up call. I'm going to be locked into the game. I'm really struggling here because I love my friends. I love being around them, watching football. We all do. But at the same time, there's an early wake-up call, and obviously we're going to lock into the game too.
Well, you gotta put the job first, right? I mean, that's the most important thing. You gotta come in here, you gotta show up, right, Grace? I mean, you gotta be able to do it. And I think to me, look, there's nothing. I don't even watch the game with sound. I enjoy nobody around me. I'm a big muter. I mute the button. I don't need to listen to it. And I just enjoy it. I enjoy the quiet and just watching the game. And look.
So what do you listen to? So what do you listen to?
I don't need to listen to anything. I just watch the game as if I was at the game. You know, when you're at the game, you're in the press box, you're just watching the game. You don't have any. I'm used to that. You know, and when I listen to it, I just get frustrated with what they're saying because most of it isn't true. This coverage here or that coverage. No, it wasn't that coverage. It was this coverage. You know, it's the greatest thing about football. The ability to understand what's actually happening on the field to what is being explained is vastly different when you watch the tape. And look, you can work for the Ravens tonight, and there'll be something that happens on that field, and you won't really know for sure what the call was, and you work in the building. And so for people that work outside the building to think they know, it becomes a lot harder, Grace.
No, you're absolutely
They need to have the
right.
option, Grace, before
you
go,
ahead,
Grace. Yeah, what they need to do, they need to have the option where you could listen to just the stadium audio. You know, all right, cut out the announcers.
I feel like you're there.
I want to hear the sound of the crowd while I'm watching the game. That would be pretty cool.
Good call, Harrison. I would do that. That I would enjoy, the crowd noise, to feel. You know, because one thing, when you're watching tape of a game, like say you're watching Seattle, you can't feel the crowd noise. You know, it's one of the things about playing in a dome. You watch the tape of Indianapolis playing somebody and you think, oh, it's not. But when you get to that dome, all of a sudden you feel a sense of urgency. You feel rushed because of the crowd noise is so loud, you know. And I think to me, that's something that you love to hear when you're on TV. I have great respect for Al Michaels. You know, I'm sure that he'll do a tremendous job. Thursday Night Football, Chris Collinsworth, they'll do a great job. But I enjoy the silence. I like the sound of silence. And, of course, my wife, when she's home, I have to have it on so she can listen to it. But for the most part, I like it in silence.
No, I love that. All valid points there. And, Harrison, to your original point, I actually found myself in that same predicament this past Saturday because – my sister and our whole group of friends here in Nashville, they went to Ole Miss. Ole Miss was playing 6 o'clock Saturday night. And I know we don't have this show on Sundays, but I don't know about you guys, Michael. I know you're already a morning person. Harrison, I know you were on the evening shift in your prior jobs like I was. I've been having to train myself to try to fall asleep at 8 p.m. so I can get up at 4 a.m. So I had to dip out of this college football watching party. And I was like, what? I don't know how to feel. Am I a bad person for this? But hey, they rolled Furman 70-0, so I didn't really feel bad. Maybe later on in the season I'll feel bad. But hey, Michael's right. Job comes first, and we're all doing a great job of it. So let's get more into this Ravens-Chiefs game, guys. The line has toggled between -2.5 and -3 in favor of the Chiefs all summer long. Michael, where do you think this line closes?
I think it's at 2.5. And at one point, I really think to me as bettors and where you might want to go with the over total here, because I do think this will be a game where Derrick Henry's going to have to make his presence known. They're going to try to run the football a little bit, reduce the clock. I still think Isaiah Pacheco will be a big, huge part of this Chief offense. I know everybody thinks that Mahomes is going to throw it all over the lot, but I do think that Pacheco's ability to run the football and how they play offensively at the end of the year is still going to carry over into the next season. Look, Worthy's a good player. Rice is a good player on the outside. Worthy can flat out run. But I think to me, against Baltimore, in preparing for them, you want to make sure that you can control the football and not get into a track meet with Lamar. I think you have to play from in front if you're Kansas City. This is an important game. I will say this to everybody on the show. When we will, at the end of this year, when we're getting ready to talk about the Super Bowl, the teams in the Super Bowl will have a distinctive advantage in first half point differential. They'll always be in the top 5, points scored versus points allowed. And so when you can play from in front, see, if you play from in front against Baltimore, all of a sudden their offensive line now has to be a drop back pass line. That's not what they want to be. They want to be a play action pass offensive line. And so Kansas City is going to be in a sense of urgency to try to get that lead. And that's when Andy will be a little more aggressive in the passing game, and then Pacheco will take over. So I just think, to me, I like Kansas City. I like the fact that, look, I believe this, Harrison, anytime you get Mahomes under 3 points, you got to almost go right to the window.
Yeah, definitely understand that. You made that point about Isaiah Pacheco. Last year, he was 12th in explosive run rate. And a lot of people, when you look at this Baltimore Ravens defense, it looks like it's a team that you should definitely be worried about, especially on the defensive side of the ball. But there was some things that were concerning about their defensive unit last year. You did mention that they do have a change at defensive coordinator, and I want to get into that more as we continue with the show. But they were also 8th in highest missed tackles per attempt rate last year as well. So they did have some issues there. And with Pacheco, his ability to hold on to the lead and kind of extend the lead and operate in that way, that could be interesting. But on the other side of the ball, too, is super interesting with, as you mentioned, Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson. The Chiefs were the highest in the NFL in two high safety looks last year at 67%. That reads to me that it could be a game for Derrick Henry. It could be a game for Mark Andrews as well, or Isaiah Likely, depending on how Coach Harbaugh wants to operate there, and offensive coordinator Todd Monken. It's going to be a fascinating watch. I don't know if I have a side. I think I'm going to lean towards the total. Just because of the rate at which this game might be played at. Last year, Baltimore was number 1 in neutral pace from weeks 12 to 18. So that's something to definitely look out for as well. It's going to be interesting on that side. I probably have to hear from you guys a little bit more if I want to choose a side who's going to win the game. But I think a total and targeting that, or definitely getting into the prop shop, might be how I attack this game from a betting side.
Yeah, you both bring up a lot of great points. The thing for me that I still am trying to wrap my head around is the dynamic between Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry. How does that impact Lamar's rushing attempts? And what does it look like in the red zone as well? I know Andy Reid, as Michael, you mentioned, fantastic game planner. He takes away the strength of the team. So for the Ravens, that's their run game. He wants to force Lamar to throw, and that's what they did in the AFC title game. They only rushed the ball 6 times, which is crazy. I was looking at Lamar's rushing attempts in the previous 4 meetings against the Chiefs. He was averaging 6.4 rush yards per attempt. So it's even more mind-boggling that he wasn't used more as a designed runner in that AFC title game. But just the Lamar, Derrick Henry dynamic, and then the Andy Reid and Steve Spag's defensive game plan against their rushing offense. That's what I'm stuck on here.
Yeah,
Lombardi,
and I
what do
think
you
the crowd noise, Grace, is going to be significant. One of the things you got to be able to do when you're playing on the road, if you want to try to run the ball, is you got to get off on the ball quickly. You've got to have quick signals. You've got to be able to use the silent count, because the advantage the home team has is the crowd noise. And when the defense gets off the ball as quick as the offensive line does, there goes the advantage the offense has. So that'll be something to watch. I think this is the perfect in-game betting game, because watching the flow of the game and who gets behind early could be the key component to who you want to bet against.
Absolutely. Lots more betting tips and keys to the game coming up. We're also going to open the doors to our prop shop for Thursday Night Football. Stay tuned. You're watching the VSiN Morning Line.
VSiN is extending our VSiN Pro Football Special. That means for $175, you'll get access to both our NFL and college football betting guides, plus so much more. With VSiN Pro, you'll receive daily picks straight to your inbox, detailed analysis on every game, and exclusive data like our betting splits to help you become a sharper bettor. Get all this for just $175 through the Super Bowl. Or try a monthly subscription and get your first 30 days for only $19. Don't miss out on this unbeatable offer. Sign up now at VSiN.com/subscribe.
Don't wait until fall to start betting the NFL. Get a jump start now with the VSiN NFL Betting Guide and get prepared for this NFL season like never before. The guide has in-depth breakdowns for all 32 teams, best bets from our VSiN experts, playoff predictions, award market previews, and more. The guide is out now, and the only way to get it is to be a VSiN Pro subscriber. Head to VSiN.com/pro to sign up and join the Sports Betting Network.
You're watching the VSiN Morning Line right here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
From now until mid-February, you will actually have football games to talk about. Football games being played on the tube, and we'll be breaking those down all season long right here on the VSiN Morning Line. Welcome back, Harrison Sanford, Grace Remington, and Michael Lombardi. And there's definitely one segment of fans who is happy to get the season started, particularly because they might have their star wide receiver back in action. Ja'Marr Chase, who's had a contract holdout with the Cincinnati Bengals throughout the course of training camp, was on the practice field yesterday. Here was his head coach, Zach Taylor, on his appearance before practice.
All right, fire away.
What's Ja'Marr practice today?
We'll see.
At what point is there a certain time that he needs to practice in order for y'all to feel good about him playing?
Yeah, we'll see. We're not there yet.
But is there a deadline that even exists?
We'll see.
My gosh.
I mean, it's
short and to the point, huh?
I mean, he was doing his Bill Belichick. We'll see. I mean, my Lord. Look, I mean, here's the thing. He has a contract. He's holding in. He's not holding out. He's holding in. And so if he doesn't play, he's going to get fined substantial amounts of money because it would be conduct detrimental to the team. So I do think that as much leverage as he has in terms of not playing, the contract takes away some of that leverage. And he's healthy. He's practicing. He's on the field. He can't now say, well, my hamstring's sore, I can't go. Kind of what Brandon Ayuk was saying out in California with the 49ers. You see him. He's there. He's got a contract. And let his agents handle the contract. You keep playing. And people say, well, what happens if he gets hurt? Well, look, that's why you have agents. That's why you have financial planning. That's why you have insurance and all those things. I think the number's not going to move, though. I mean, it was at 9.5. I mean, that's a dead number in the NFL, right? So it's come back to 8. I think that's kind of what it'll stay. I think the bigger issue here in this game is the fact that the left side of the offensive line for the New England Patriots is not healthy. So and Low, sounds like a law firm there, the left guard and the left tackle, they're not healthy, and they're not at 100%. And New England doesn't have 5 good ones, let alone having depth in the line. So that's worth noting, Grace.
Can we go back to Zach Taylor for a minute? Real question for you guys. What is more annoying, coach speak or the one-word answers?
Yeah. Harrison, what do you think?
I think the coach speak is worse. The coach speak, actually, yes. The coach speak is actually worse because now as a reporter, you would have to try and dress it up. If it's just short, if he's just short like that, I can give I could tease that a lot easier as a broadcaster, as a journalist. I could say, and Zach Taylor sounds fed up. He sounds annoyed. But when you just give plain old coach speak, it's really hard to dress that up, Michael.
And it's typically the same
speech
week after week.
When you say we'll see, isn't it Zach Taylor's job to tell us what we see? Right? I mean, you can't be the guy who's seeing to tell you need to see. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. Look, right? So, I mean, that's why we're asking you, is you're the only one who's going to see practice. We'll see, I mean, so I think what happened there, Grace, is that Zach Taylor got his foot in his mouth when he said he's fully going to play, he's going to be back. And then the Chase camp said, wait a minute, you're not controlling what we're doing here. But at the end of the day, he has a contract, Grace. He's got to go out there and play. And I think, to me, the way Burrow has looked this summer, I fully expect this Cincinnati offense to play well. And if you have Jermaine Burton in your fantasy league, I think he's going to play really well in this offense as the outside receiver.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, Ja'Marr Chase has a huge impact to this offense, especially when Joe Burrow is going to be healthy, because we didn't really get to see the big 3 receivers last year, what that could have been. But looking at the way the spread has moved on this game, the Bengals opening up as the only 2-possession spread of opening weekend. Now it's technically down to 1 possession at 8 points, but 8 is actually more of a key number than 9. And I already would have been comfortable laying the 9.5 before. So I kind of like this better. I mean, yeah, the -7.5 was not good. So this market movement makes sense back to the 8, but yeah, still comfortable laying a large number here.
You know, that's
in
interesting.
terms of other line.
Go ahead, Harrison.
Go ahead, Michael.
Well, no, I think to me.
Well, in terms of other.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Mike. Well, let's get to the other line. Let's get to the other line movement then. We have Vikings also moving from -1 to -2 at the New York Giants for week number 1. We also have the Texans moving from -2.5 to -3 against the Colts. And that is interesting as we continue to go through our news and notes here because we did see some injury news as it pertains to the Colts and their kicker, Matt Gay. He had hernia surgery, so his status for Sunday's game against those Houston Texans is now uncertain. And, Michael, this is something that you have talked about a couple of times here as we've started this show. The status of the kicker, the quality of the kicker is super important when you're evaluating that line. And I think that's being reflected here in this line movement from -2.5 to -3.
Yeah, no question. And look, let's face it. I mean, this is going to be a tight game. I mean, both these teams know each other. Steve Makinen put out his trends, and there's a 75% chance when you get the home team at 2 points, in a divisional game that it has a chance to come through. So I don't think today we'll have the Circa contest will release their numbers, which I always use every week kind of as a measuring stick on where we're going to close on Sundays. Because what happens when they release the contest numbers today at around 1 o'clock Eastern time, 10 o'clock in the morning, that tells us that's where they think the line is going to go. I don't think you're going to be able to get 3 in the Colts at home. I think this will stay at 2.5. I think it's going to be there, but I would be reluctant to really get into this because of the kicking injury. I think that makes you very concerned, especially when those points in that situation, it's going to be a fourth quarter game at the end of the game where they're going to have to do it. The other thing I think that's really interesting about this game is Stroud. When he was playing as a favorite, when as an underdog, now he assumes the role as the favorite. And I think that's kind of going to be the interesting thing. How does he handle that? What does he look like? For all the love we give Houston, Grace, and they deserve it. But I think the reality was last year they went to Carolina when Carolina couldn't win a game, and they struggled to play against them.
So before news of this injury to Matt Gay came down, I was already leaning to back the Colts plus the points. It's not a game that I'm personally betting, but just kind of looking at the division, I feel like it's up for grabs. If you go through the schedule, there's potential for every team to hang around the 9-win area. I think a lot that's going into this line is the Texans are maybe a bit overrated with some residual hype from last year. Obviously, CJ Stroud was amazing, but the reason why his season was so special is because it's rare. And can he replicate what he did last year? The Colts are improved, getting Anthony Richardson back, Michael Pittman, Jonathan Taylor are healthy. So, I disagree with the line movement going toward the Colts side. I would lean betting the Colts plus the points, but it's not a game I'm betting personally.
Another game that doesn't have too much line movement involved, but I think it's still a very good story and definitely notable. Damar Hamlin will get his first start for the Buffalo Bills after suffering his cardiac arrest. And that is just a feel-good story as they take on the Arizona Cardinals in week number 1. If we look at the previous iterations of this Buffalo Bills secondary, gone are the days of Jordan Poyer, Micah Hyde, and Trey White. It's now Christian Bedford, Rasul Douglas, Teron Johnson, and now Damar Hamlin. That was a unit, Michael, that they really relied on to excel on the defensive side of the ball. What is your expertise on how this moves forward with Sean McDermott's team on the defensive side? We know there's changes offensively, but I don't think it's talked about enough how different this defense might look too.
Well, I think especially at the safety, right? One of the things your safeties have to do for you is make the communications to everybody. And the way Sean McDermott calls his defense, it's a lot of what we call check with me defense, which is he'll make a call, and then based on formations, based on motions, there's always an adjustment to that. And it's got to be communicated. Hyde and Poyer did a wonderful job doing that. They were able to get everybody aligned. It's what Milano does for the second level of defense to make sure everything goes. And the third level relies on the safety. I think that's really important. Look, when Josh Allen is a 3 or point favorite, he's always very good. But when he's favored over 4 points or more. It's been 25 times. He's 8-16-1. And I think Kyler Murray in this role as a dog with 6.5 points is a play that I think a lot of people are going to make because Murray is very good in this situation. You know, he's 11-5 against the spread when he's getting more than 6 points. So, look, I think Buffalo's change on defense will certainly help the Arizona Cardinals. Plus, I think Arizona will run the football. Look, they did it last year with the bad line. The line's better, Grace.
Yeah, definitely a lot of
looking forward to seeing how.
Oh, go ahead, Harrison. Close us out.
Looking forward to seeing how it pans out for the Buffalo Bills and that new structure there for the team in upstate New York. When we come back on the VSiN Morning Line, we get into Thursday Night Football and the prop shop. Certain bets that you have to consider going into the NFL season opener.
In the heart of downtown Las Vegas, a sports oasis awaits. Stadium Swim, the ultimate outdoor amphitheater, built for the ultimate sports fan, with a colossal screen that brings the game closer than ever. Reserve a daybed, private cabana, or lounge in the center of it all. 6 pools to dive into as the game heats up. And the best part, there's never an off-season. Open 365 days a year. Stadium Swim, it's always spectator season.
The only thing better than football is the excitement of all the contests. Catch the Circa Friday Football Invitational at 9 p.m. Eastern with picks from some of the sharpest bettors around the country. Then on Saturdays at 9, watch the Football Contest Show, where our expert hosts and guests go through the consensus choices for some of the biggest betting contests in the world. The fun doesn't stop there. Visit VSiN.com for the full lineup and join us on the Sports Betting Network.
You're watching the VSiN Morning Line right here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
If you guys are just like us, you cannot wait for Thursday night football. Baltimore Ravens, 2.5-point underdogs taking on the Kansas City Chiefs. Throughout the entirety of the VSiN Morning Line, we will be breaking that down. Welcome back to the show, Harrison Sanford, Grace Remington, and Michael Lombardi. And throughout the course of the show, we hope to give you some tips or some leans that can help you be a profitable bettor by the end of the night. And with that being said, it's time for us to go into the VSiN Morning Line prop shop, looking at some props in this Thursday night football game tonight and seeing if we will take it or pass on it on this evening. And we'll go to the team that's going to look a little bit different on the defensive side of the ball. The Baltimore Ravens, we all know at this point, have added Derrick Henry, bringing him over from the Tennessee Titans. How he looks, how he meshes with Lamar Jackson is definitely something we're going to keep pace of throughout the remainder of the regular season. His prop tonight on his rushing yards, a little pedestrian for one Derrick Henry, but again, he's in a new backfield, and his quarterback, Lamar Jackson, could also rush the ball as well. His number sitting at 64.5. Would you take the over at -120, Grace?
Yeah, I would take a flyer on the over. I know he's coming off his worst statistical season since 2018, 68 rush yards a game, but you have to think that was due to the Titans' mess of an offense and rough offensive line. One thing that I'm also using to kind of, play into this handicap here, and something I've been mulling over throughout the offseason is Lamar Jackson's season total rushing yards, because it opened, I think, higher than 750. It's been bet down all the way to 700. So I think you can use that information to help your handicap on Derrick Henry game props. Obviously, this market movement tells you that Derrick Henry will be utilized more, taking rushing attempts from Lamar Jackson. So I would take the over on Derrick Henry's prop here. Michael, what do you think?
I agree, Grace. And I think it's one of the mysteries of what happened in that game last year against Kansas City is why Baltimore didn't run the football. The week before, Buffalo ran for 182 yards effectively. We saw Cook run up and down the field on them. And, you thought that Baltimore would take the same approach. They run power with the quarterback, gets 15 yards. They come back and run power with Gus Edwards. It gets another 15 yards. And then we don't see another run play again forever. They panicked. I mean, it was pretty clear. Todd Monken panicked. He got behind in the game. Kansas City played from in front. And all of a sudden, that panic took away the ability to want to run the ball. They're going to run it. Now, look, Steve Spagnuolo knows they're going to run it. I think he's prepared for it. He'll be in an 8-man front for most of the game to try to take it. But last year, as good as they played defensively, they were 24th in the National Football League in yards per attempt allowed. And I think the way that you can run the football against them, because Lamar is so versatile. See, the one thing when you have a guy like Lamar playing quarterback, he actually blocks somebody on almost every play. And you say, well, how does the quarterback block anybody? Well, the quarterback blocks somebody when he fakes a handoff and he runs a naked or he runs a bootleg, because somebody from the defense has to go out there and run with them. They have to displace and go, because you're not letting Lamar Jackson run out there in the perimeter by himself. So that takes away all. We'll hear it tonight. Oh, they're in an 8-man front. They're in an 8-man front. Well, if 8-man front cured all the running games, nobody would be able to run the ball. So I do think that he'll get over that total. He has to. If they're going to win, he's got to get over 62 yards. He has to. If you're playing the Ravens and taking the points, this prop bet goes right along with it, Harrison.
I think we're all working in unison here. That's definitely a bet that I would be taking the over 64.5 -120. Shop around. You might even find a better number for his rushing yards. As I mentioned earlier in the show, Chiefs using the double high coverage at the highest rate in the NFL last year at 67%. Now Steve Spagnuolo might alter his typical game plan for this matchup, but I feel as if maybe that's something that you could rely on, or a stat or that you know about this team that maybe will propel you to take that bet. I would definitely be looking towards that. And in my opinion, if you traded for Derrick Henry, you might as well use Derrick Henry. So we'll see how it all pans out. And if we're all right on this, we're going to have to circle back on it on Friday's show. All right, let's go to another player, this time on the Kansas City side of things. Travis Kelce, old, reliable for the Kansas City Chiefs. The over is -120 for his receiving yards at 56.5. Michael, your thoughts on this prop? Travis Kelce, 56.5 receiving yards, -120.
Well, he played really good in the last game when they played in Baltimore. Remember, he wins on a touchdown throw against Kyle Hamilton in a one-on-one coverage. You know, you would think Kyle Hamilton would have the advantage being able to cover him, but I think if Kelce's healthy, he should be able to get over that number. I think there's no question that he's still going to be the first option in this offense. He has to be. You know, he had 11 catches for 116 yards in the last game. I think that continues. And the strength of Baltimore is Kyle Hamilton, but when it's a one-on-one situation, that's not going to work out. Now, you say, well, let's just double him. Well, that's not as easy to do because the way Andy Reid moves him around all the time, it's hard to get a clean double on him. You can in and out him, and in classic Belichick terms, you got him, I got him, nobody has him. And so I think, to me, this is an overplay as well.
You know, I'm going to take the opposite side here and go under the number. This number actually opened at 60.5 at MGM. I saw it open at 59, 58 at other places. So it's been bet down a little bit. We obviously saw the decline in his production last season. Now he's a year older, turning 35 in October, and he's got an improved group of wide receivers around him to take touches away from him. Michael, you mentioned Kyle Hamilton. He has the rare combo of size and speed to cover a tight end. When you look at Baltimore's 21 games last season, they allowed over 57 yards to a tight end just 6 times. So I'd like to think that maybe the Chiefs will give Travis Kelce a lighter workload to start the season to keep his health in check and then make it a little bit heavier as the season goes on. So in game 1, I'll take the under here.
Well, Grace, that's going to be the interesting thing about Travis Kelce, because with his age, you wonder, will this production continue? Will he modify his role? Well, he was asked about that from the local media.
I'm curious if the coaches have talked to you for week 1, at least, in terms of managing your staff.
No, and I probably wouldn't listen to him if they did.
Thinking back specifically to this game last year, you had to miss. Just as you think back to that and the fact that how grateful are you that you're actually available and you had a nice training camp and everything kind of went that way?
I'm forever fortunate to be able to play as many games as I've played already in this league. And, you know, that's why I really enjoy going out there every single day, even if it's just a practice, to really work on my craft, because I know not everybody gets that same, you know, fortune in their career. And you know, I'm ready to rock week 1, and I'm thankful for it.
Good soundbite and good stuff there from Travis Kelce.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Michael.
No doubt. I mean, but I think, to me, do we know if Taylor Swift's in the building tonight? Does anybody know that? I mean, that does.
Actually,
have...
Oh boy, don't get messy.
Go ahead, Grace. Go ahead.
Don't
tell
get
us
messy,
now.
Michael.
When this
Go
would
ahead,
come
Grace.
up.
You got it.
Yeah, cash the over 3.5 days for Taylor Swift to come up on this show. So the odds for Taylor Swift to be in attendance are juiced -650 to the yes. She just finished up the Europe leg of her tour, and the American leg of her tour doesn't start until October 19th. So all signs point
she got nothing else to do, right? Is what you're saying?
To America's couple being present on Thursday Night Football.
I love it. Yeah, I mean, I love it. If she's in the house, you know he's going to get the ball. I mean, I think there's no question about that. Look, I think the one thing, when we're talking about prop bets, you know, you have to take a peek at the offensive coordinator's play sheet, which is Andy Reid, right? And part of that play sheet, there's a section on all these West Coast coaches area where I've got to get the ball to this guy. I got to get him going. If he goes a quarter without getting the ball to Kelce, then he knows he's got to deal with Kelce on the sideline yelling at him. Kelce, hey, get me the ball. I got to get the ball. So there's plays specifically designed. And if that number's at 50, and Grace, I get where you're coming from in terms of the coverage and Kyle Hamilton and what they've done in the past. But Kelce's really not a tight end. He's a wide receiver. What I admire most, Harrison, about Kelce is he's taking tight end money when he should be saying, hey, I'm as good as any wide receiver in the league, which is true.
Yeah, that is definitely something that's interesting. And Michael, maybe later on in the show, I really want to get your opinion on how you would operate as a GM when you have a guy as talented as Travis Kelce, who's had a great bill of health relative to most players at his age, at what point as a general manager do you start to prepare yourself for a potential decline or potential unavailability of a player to that magnitude who's been so important to what Kansas City has been able to pull off? It's a fascinating thing there that he's been able to do, and fascinating to possibly get your thoughts on it as well. Other props that are available: Lamar Jackson over 1.5 passing yards. That's at plus money, plus 135, and at anytime rushing touchdown, plus 235. When we come back, we'll continue to look into week 1 of the NFL and the beginning of the season. Tonight, Thursday, night football. That'll be more, that and more in the VSiN Morning Line.
The summer months are here, which means you're going to have to bet on baseball. This is VSiN.